Our first matchup to kick off our final day. I can't believe the stage is already done. It's been an exhausting stage, but an incredible stage seeing the rise of so many new faces and names in the league. And I'm so excited about it to start off with LFO that are on the cusp of the major. But we've known how LFO have always been in their older Millennium, this team, Vitality on the cusp of a major.
They've been really good at one thing, and that's choking.
Exactly.
This time, they have the knife to the throat going up against Pwns. Lucky for LFO, however, is that that knife is not very sharp. It's less of an edge than a circle, so it's not going to do much damage. So looking at the team that they're going
laugh on that one. I didn't give him it.
You don't have to laugh if you don't want to.
That was very funny, Fabian.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Very good line.
All bow down to me. They can't bottle it now. Like they've gotten so far. They're playing good Siege. I just don't see a way that they lose this unless they lose it to themselves, because every single game, except the one versus Na'Vi, they've had two players who never really performed. And it's not two individual performances, it's just two players that always show that they're not on the server that day. If they have that today, that might be a problem.
I think for LFO, and it's worth saying what they need for the major, is that they've got to win in regulation, and they've got to hope that BDSL Rogue drop points, because they're currently outside of the top 4. It's not in their hands. If every team above them matches them or does better than them, then they won't go to the major. But it's all about doing their part. As you say, in this match against the bottom of the table opposition, they're more than capable of doing it.
Yeah, much like the Space Marines, they have to do their part.
Yeah.
That's a reference. Movie fans, I don't know if maybe she would.
M probably got it.
Yeah, M probably got it. Well, there you go.
It's a good movie, or good movies. I'm pretty sure they have more than
I don't know if it's one or...
I can't remember.
Anyways, on that note, Pwns on the other side, Jack. What can they offer today? Because we know that they can't make it into the major, but they can fight for something.
This is one of them times, Milosh, where I've got to try and paint a team in a good light, but I've also got to be objectively fair, because this team has not done too much in the league. They've capitalized to get 2 wins from teams that misplayed those games and eventually beat themselves. When they played against Secret, Secret beat themselves that day. The same with when they played against M&M. They've got a pretty limited map pool, and also individually, they've been pretty poor. We'll come on to the next screen when it shows their individual performances. And I think, obviously, the expectation of this previous roster, before they changed out 4 players, was majors, was 6 invitationals. They were second place at 6 invitational. We talked about expectations. They've got to retailor those expectations to the roster that they've currently got. And the one person that I want to draw your eye to, actually, is right there in the middle. WTG is one of their better players, despite playing the hard support. Andreezy is playing a lurking role, playing the Twitch. Cypher's on the sledge. They're not doing as well. They're not doing that part. Something's not quite functional in that team, and I can't put my finger on what it is, but they're being outclassed in this league at the minute.
I have a finger to put somewhere, though. It's their attacks.
Okay.
Their attacks are bad. What did you think I was going to put it? I'm not
on my
put
nose.
I was going to say, I'm not going to put it up your nose.
Are you going to boot
No matter
my
how much
nose?
you want it, I won't put it up
snoot.
your nose. Their attacks have been poor. The last 5 games, they only won 5, which is just clearly not good enough. I don't remember how many they've played, but I just know that they've just won 5 during the last 5 games, and you can't win games if you don't win attacks.
Yep.
So our map, like you say, if it's about attacks, about LFO not losing to themselves, the map's going to have a massive impact on that. And again, 9 map pool is what we're working with here globally in the latest system of Rainbow Six Esports, and Bank will be the map that we go to, as LFO has opted to remove Clubhouse. They'll have the final say, and that goes to Bank, where they start on attack, because Pwns have picked defense. Your thoughts on it, Jack?
One of Pwns' problems is actually map pool, is that they really only like 4 or so maps of a 9 map pool, which means teams get to pick their best map out of them for that Pwns like into them. It's a problem that age-old, the previous roster had. It's a problem that this roster's got. LFO love Bank. They've been able to get Bank. They've set themselves up. Everything is pointing in favor of an LFO victory, especially with this map pick.
I don't really care which map it is. I would say that LFO should win every single one of them. They could take them to plane. It wouldn't matter. LFO is just more of a complete
You
team.
just want playing in.
I just want playing. Like, the amount of stuff we do, and we come back to the ranky stack. The amount of times...
Playing's not in ranked.
No. The amount of time I say, we're banning this map, and then we don't ban that map, and then we ban a completely different one, the one that everyone wants to go off, and we go into Canal. The amount
Slight tangent here. We are Canal connoisseurs.
The amount of times we play Canal, it's just amazing.
Is it,
We
though?
are so good at it. It's no, but it doesn't matter which map. LFO could take them to Canal, and they would still beat them. And I say that to every single
You
map.
said that last time.
Yes,
You've said this multiple times,
Yes, I've said it multiple times.
and multiple times you've been wrong.
Yes.
Do you remember when you said there was no way that a team would ever lose against a coach? And then it happened
Yes,
twice.
because Jack, they sucked.
Fair.
True.
But in this case, LFO are their own worst enemy. You played
Yes.
with some of the players that are on LFO.
But it doesn't even matter if I've played with them. Like, you can just see statistically that every single game that they've played, except the one against Navi, they've had 2 players that don't show up. And it's not that, oh yeah, Rice have had a rough season, we know that, but it's not only him that's not showing up some of these play days. There are other players. There's always just someone who doesn't show up. The only person I would say that is consistently doing decently, except the first game, is Mowgli.
Yeah.
So what if we broke it down to this way? Who needs to show up from LFO?
All of them.
Fair enough. So what can Pones do to, put something in the works here, put a spat in the works for LFO to play them on this? Because they're starting defense on bank. Usually we call this a very unfavorable start, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is an unfavorable start, but the only thing that they're actually good at is defending. So it's kind of like you have a map where it's bad to defend because it's an attacker-favored map. At the same time, the only thing you know how to do is defend. So it's like, even if your strength is on the weakness of the map, I just don't think that it's going to it's not going to be enough.
Do you think that Pones with that defense start can actually break the mental of LFO if they're able to collect a few rounds?
I think I'm going to set the expectation here, and I think Fabian's the same in this. It won't be Pones that break LFO. It will be LFO that break LFO.
But how can that happen in the game?
It'll be about whether LFO go through their proper processes of, Bank's a big map. If they're doing a roam clear, if they let something silly happen, they let somebody just pop up, get misdroned, anything like that, it won't be Pones that have done that. It'll be LFO. They'll get inside their own heads. And combined with that pressure, that might start to spiral. That's the only way I realistically see a Pones victory here.
If Pones wins the first 2 rounds, and one of them, at least one of them, consists of a major mistake from LFO.
Where LFO should win it and don't.
Yes, that they misdrawn, as you said, or that they just fail their execute, or that they completely just get picked apart. They will start getting scared of losing their opportunity to go, and that's the only way. But even then, I'm saying that they will get scared. There's no guarantees for that. There might be a completely different one. We've seen M&M take timeouts that just completely turn their entire momentum around. If LFO does the same, I'm looking at Pone's win percentage rate on this. The chances I give them, it's like maximum 5%.
They
chance.
played Outsiders on bank only a couple of weeks ago, and granted, I'll give it to Pones. They actually veered from their usual operator bans, which is the usual Thatcher Valkyrie. They went for a 0 and an Oryx in that case, but they ended up getting smashed also with the same problem they had against Outsiders.
And if you remember the way Outsiders played that as well, because we went into that particular game and we said, we'd not expected too much funky stuff. Outsiders were Amaru patches and doing things that were completely out of the normal. That's the type of problems that LFO will pose today. And that's where we do see, can Pones deal with that? And the answer so far throughout, 8 games has been no.
And we spoke about what could Pones do differently that game as well.
Yeah.
And what did we say? Well, they will try the funky stuff. But it wasn't them trying it. No. They did exactly the most basics of the basics, while Outsiders did funky. So it's, they haven't shown adaptation. They haven't shown consistency. They haven't shown basics.
Yep.
It's just, right now, Pones is lacking on everything, and you can just question, it's like, why would you change out 4 players for this?
No, I was going to say, there's Joystick and Dan and Shepard, these players that they could pick up.
You forgot about Always, didn't you?
If they, always, true.
Someone did a bamboozle.
You'd think, Pones could actually pick them. Imagine if they played on the Pones.
You know, guys, they did have them there.
What?
Yeah. Yeah,
Incredibile.
Yeah, the owners of that team must really be scratching his head, and it's like,
it's a strange one because you've gone from a team that was second at Six Invitational.
Yeah.
Should have been world champions, arguably.
I don't think so.
Arguably,
come on.
that's up for debate, to 10th in EUL Stage 1.
Yeah.
That is just...
So, lobby's
I'm
ready.
available,
By the way. The reason why we had to extend this is obviously we're waiting for our lobby to be set up, and it is just ready.
Davai.
It's time. It actually is Davai time. I say Pashli, Davai. We'll have to learn a few more words. So thank you very much, Fabian and Fretch. It's LFO versus Pones. We'll toss it to our wonderful casters, Hap and Fluke. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milosh. And indeed, and actually, I'm just going to put the occasion out here. There's even an opportunity where LFO lose this game and still make it to the major.
Maths is
It
fun.
is possible.
Maths is fun.
So a 7-5 loss and a 7-2 loss from Rogue or worse is going to be confirming it. So, you know,
It's the best.
nothing
time.
is lost with this game, but a lot to be gained. Let's put it out like that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing about a Playday like this is you love to see it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. From the perspective of the players, it's probably a much tenser day than it otherwise could be if you miss out on it and you've been working to it all the season and it's a difference of like a single game that's gone the wrong way. It's frustrating. But from a viewer point of view, from a spectator point of view, to have only one of the 4 teams locked in for this and still a lot of names, and sure, M&M, they're an outside chance, 18% if they win, and a lot of other stuff happens.
Everything needs to go their way.
Everything needs to go their way, but it could happen.
All right. Well, it could happen. And that is what we are going up for here. LFO, the first team out of the 6 that still have an opportunity of making it through, that will be able to make their move. It all depends on how many points they will be able to pick up. Now, any point they gain is going to be putting them into the top 4, at least for now. As you can see on the top right side of your screen, according to the live rankings, they are indeed 5th. And that means that is middle of the table, yes, but it's due to the round differential. So points can be the deciding factor here.
Yeah.
If they somehow end up tied with 2 other teams on 16 points at the end of the day, it might come down to the round differential in the end. Because we could have BDS, Rogue, and LFO all equal in points, and then the round differential will decide. It's the first tiebreaker nowadays. Head-to-heads are shoved down a little bit further down the line this time. So there's no more of that coming through.
I believe we're still just making sure
Yeah.
the lobby is steady. We need to have, I mean, of all the days, you should always try and strive for full competitive integrity, but for all the days, for it to matter, this is obviously a very special one. So you have to make sure that every player is happy going into the server, and things like ping issues, they need to be ironed out. So we'll just be having a quick rehost again. Apologies for everybody with the delay of the start of this game, but you know how important this is for these players. There was a bit of a split there on the voting. It's you know, obviously a lot of the games today, it's, you know, a place versus a place right next to them. You got BDS G2, you've got you know, even Navi versus Secret.
Not often we see that.
This is one of the only games where it's a mid-table versus a bottom table, or there's a couple of teams between the 2 teams.
Yeah, and it's not often we get those kind of games, right? Normally, a lot is already locked in by the time we hit Playday 9. Of course, you saw that in the other regions. And hey, for example, didn't leave it up to the last day to get 6 teams fighting over 3 spots on the board.
Statistically, this is the easiest game of the day.
Statistically, this is the easiest. And that's why Fabian says they should be able to take them to Canal and win it there. I do have to point out, though, he was giving flame to his ranked stack, but I remember a game we played with him where he said, believe me, the opposing team is going to ban Canal. And then they didn't.
Yeah, I do remember that, actually.
They said, don't worry, it's fine. We start in defense, and we actually start an attack as well.
Yeah,
so,
he really doubled down on being wrong.
He doubled down on being wrong. So, I mean, if that is anything to go off here, he brought up that analogy, and that means he might be wrong here as well today. I mean, Pones did get very close to taking points away from BDS, and that could have really shaken things up here. And if they're able to do so today against LFO in a match as important as this, that is going to be really painful, and I can only assume they'll be kicking themselves over it if LFO lose points out here today.
Talking of LFO, let's not beat about the bush. This is not the first time that this team has been in a situation where they're on the brink of being able to break their way through to a major. If things go away from them, it will not be the first time that happens, but it could be the first time. They finally get across the tip. They couldn't have a better hand. They couldn't have a matchup more akin to them. They couldn't have more going into their favor. LFO, this really is the best opportunity to put those demons to rest.
It definitely is, and even though you do not have the initiative yourself, your opponents are up against much tougher opponents themselves. G2 BDS, for example. BDS need to fight G2, currently in that second place. If G2 take a full-on victory, LFO take a victory here, then that's done already. Top 4 confirmed. So there's many opportunities that we might see this go. But again, it's only game 1 out of the 5 we have here today. And it's only round 1 that's about to be going underway here. Hatches are being opened up. We do see a bit of a roam, I believe, emerging up on that first floor in an attempt for Pwns to try and keep control of open area. But maybe more importantly, the square hatch, because we see how important that is if teams want to go for a default plant on the server stack.
Now, Exodus has been a huge player in the times that he's been able to get into the game here, so he's going to be one to see if these early engagements are things that lean into him. Leans onto a corner, just pulls away before the fight goes. It is still being watched, and if I'm going to say Exodus is a bit of a spark, so is Mowgli. P4 doubles down very quickly, makes the good use of that LMG that's in a very good spot right now, and suddenly they've found themselves entirely putting pressure over the top floor. The site is all the way down in the basement. It puts Scyther in a tricky situation here because with all the hatches open, you sort of still have to extend. You have to try and play this long game now and see how long you can hold on to territory that if it goes away from you, you are really in a bad spot.
You already be in a bad spot indeed, and not even 30 seconds gone, and already both of the roamers taken out. Exodus and the mission both off that board. It really gives a lot of freedom here to LFO for the remainder of this round, and you know, at some point they all need to fall back, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Pwns is, well, trying to reconvene themselves around these main stairs. You might be able to find a single battle here with Mowgli at some point, but there's no one left on that first floor, and it just gives free rein to LFO to open up what they need to and prepare themselves for an eventual execute. And if you look over to the left, there is still plenty of denial left. 3 smoke canisters, 14 Shumikas. They can theoretically stop the default plant from happening.
Well, here it is, Mowgli. He's eyeing himself down towards green stairs. There's 2 bodies here. He's going to see the leg of the first. Gets an easy pick onto Scyther. Suffers a little too late. There's Andreezy. A massive retake. He's holding the canister, and he's going to use that just to hold off a little bit of force. As he said, they've got utility in both the pockets, but using it at the right time is the most important part. Leave the Shumikas to the opposite side and make sure you do not have a trade-for-trade situation. You need to have a little bit of space. Shinka finds his way down. They're going to see if they can try and go for the default plant there. Backed on the backside. P4's got it all droned and locked off, and the canister pops a little bit early. Only one left in the pocket. The fire's going to be the other stow. Here is Rise and LFO opening up that little corner of the plant there. Shinka's going to see if he can swing it round as the width starts to come through. WTG with the Shumikas popped over the top and well rehearsed. He wants to try and hit that exit sign. So they drop right on the default. That smoke is going to make sure nobody comes from behind them, but remember the hatches are open. They have angles on both of them. They might just have to try and drop in and go for the fight, and there it is. There's the first. P4 finds WTG over the top. Andreezy's all that left. He's going to try and find his way back in, but as the kit goes down on the opposite side, Rise suffers to something, but it wasn't Andreezy as he's on no health. Tries to spray around the corner, but in a post-plant 4 versus 1, they've retaken vertical above the hatch, but they don't even get that far.
Important kill there on the Tachanka, middle of that execute, because he was the one that had the utility left. I believe 10 Shumikas left at least, which he could have used to stop that plan from happening. But as soon as they took him out, as soon as they took that head off, it is only a smoke without smoke canisters. And that is just an SMG-11, which is an amazing weapon, by the way, in the right hands, and a shotgun that won't do much on that long range. So LFO, they start this one off swinging. They started off strong on that roam clear, getting 2 in just a couple of seconds. And afterwards, they slowed it down quite a bit. They used the time they had to get from top to bottom, and in the meantime, Mowgli also being able to pick up the Vigil. I believe it was the last one. No, that one died earlier. On the main stairs, which was refragged eventually by the smoke. So a 2v4 execute in the end. And with that much time remaining, it's almost always going to be going the way of the attackers. There's little to nothing you can do, even with all the utility in the world. Now, 15 seconds left of this prep phase, and we are changing things up slightly. We're headed towards the open area, Emmy. And looking at it, again, it will be a bit of an extension, but this time horizontally.
I mean, the vertical definitely didn't work. It was something where LFO's early game, the drones and the intel and the pinch on those 2 players was perfect. It's one of the things where when they're sharp, it is a razor. and it absolutely cut through any of those loose threads of the Pones players. So Pones, they're going to see if they can try and go for a bit of an alternate hold here. Exodus, I pointed out that he might be a figure to try and have a little bit of work here, and he was obviously bumped on the start before. He heard, as he said, a little bit of the rappel there, but he's currently unchecked, he believes. Rise is holding the angle, though. I mean, Bibu looking like he's about to stack up somewhere else. They have the cams, they have all the intel that they could want here. They're trying to find him. They know he's roughly around there, and at this point, Exodus, well, you're just sort of pinned and pincered, caught out as he goes past. There's Rise to pick up the pieces.
He was living on borrowed time there, right? 50 seconds eventually is what he managed to live through, so a little bit of time wasted on the hands of LFO, but they do have the entry yet once again. That is something they'll be more than happy with. Now they can start hammering down upon the eventual side itself. And if you look over to the right-hand side, you see Rise on that buck. He's going to be doing a lot of work vertically, trying to get rid of the players in Archives, in Tellers as well, just to make sure that a lot of the space where the defenders can fall back to is no longer able to be used. And you actually force them that way to be on the site, which then in the execute allows you to just cut down the angles one by one.
Now, intel is always going to be a big part of this map. It is sort of reminiscent of things like Chalet, where you've got SAMcams, you've got drones, you've got big rooms and spacious corners to put those drones in. As we're seeing, it's massively punishing players like Exodus, who's even, you know, doubling down with the Mozzie Mute on smaller maps that would entirely lock in that intel. And LFO, they're very good at that game, and that sort of approach to a team is one where it's kind of better to sort of put yourself locked in and say, well, this is where we are. We're not being subtle. Come find us. And how long they can get away with that play. There's a bit of destruction coming through across the bow of Service. They're going across the top of the white stairs as well. And Andreezy, he's currently untested underneath and wants to go for that massive square rotate you often see towards the quad wall.
Yeah, so now the big question is it going to be the quad wall that gets opened up? I would believe so, and there is impacts available on the side of WTG to try and stop that. However, it's the next to Thermic. It's Selmas. They behave a little bit differently there. Might not be as effective as it otherwise might be. Either way, that flank on those blue stairs is going to be coming in crucial here, because indeed it does seem that the push will be coming down from the quad wall.
And this is it. It's such a huge player position to be in. You should expect it at this point. Whether LFO have the intel on it or not, they've got to make sure that they're ready, as actually the drop is going to come through from the stock hatch. They go in, they go down. Shinka gets caught instantly. Scyther sprays across, and there's at least a back and forth, but Rise is going to see if he can stick it in the meantime. Drop down and caught out just as they swing around a pre-fire and a 2 versus 1, leaving only Rise. Big guns are hitting him from either side. 5 seconds, and although they got the opening body very fast, as the approach that was slowed.
Again, the 50 seconds might be the differentiating factor here. The 50 seconds that Exodus managed to live because they knew he was there. 4 people were setting up crossfires. 4 people were trying to hunt him down. And as a result, you're not wasted 50 seconds, you've almost wasted 2 minutes. Like, everybody, their time counts, and everybody could have been doing something else in the meantime. And as a result, they weren't able to. LFO, thus maybe running out of time in the end there. I mean, they wanted to go for the hatch drop, but they didn't quite have the control they needed to do so. But they also realized that the quad wall push was probably not going to be working, so they had to go for something else. They tried it, they went for the attempt, it unfortunately failed to land and stick. And as we head to the CEO office, it is the clash that gets brought out from Emission. And also we see the castle. So we can expect a lot of these long angles to be opened up and blocked off by the barricades as well. With maybe the clash playing aggressively elsewhere, trying to stop the push. Maybe from the backside. I mean, often when we do see the setup, it is indeed a lobby push that comes through.
Well, now that we've got a little bit of teeth into this is always that, I guess, concern about LFO, is sometimes they've slowed on their attacks, and it's taken the effort from P4 to try and bring them back in and get some of that energy that he can deliver for them. And they have had those team talks that have led to sort of riveting resurgences. And I guess that's the sort of growth I want to see. That's the face. That's the sort of attenuation towards it. Pressure, that presence. And Mowgli, they're going to see if they can try and lead in once again. And it seems like this is the most withheld hand Pones' defense said so far.
And drones are inside, and Rise is seeing that no one is indeed there for now, but with those castle barricades, with those long angles to be made, there's not really anything they can do safely here. They need to get rid of players inside the janitor, for example. That is going to be that big one, because that directly stops this repelling that Rise is probably going to be attempting right here in the middle of all these flashes and smokes.
God. P4 goes for a hefty execute behind, right deep into the smoke in the middle of everything, but you're not going to pre-fire that angle. More blinds,
Yokai.
more spray. The Yokai doesn't know where he is. Short out. P4 gets the plant. Mowgli kills himself in the mess of it, and WTG makes it a 5 versus 4 versus 3. A grenade dropped to the bottom is just going to be eyes on the cams. Hey, you got to have a cams player. They've had a clash. What's she going to do? She could be a bit of help here. If she can get on the other side of that diffuser, maybe somebody could get behind it. They want to risk something. They want to see if they can draw some of the attention away, but you're looking at 25 seconds. You're looking at time. You need to get yourself back round towards that plant spot. It's in the middle of the room. That makes it a little bit more dangerous now as you're going for this retake. You can see they're slowly inching themselves back over, but slowly that time's about to go to single figures. The Clash is in that position. They're holding the plant. They're going wide, and there it is! Sprayed round. You can't watch every side.
You were going to say, what's the Clash going to do? Block off the angles from the window, forcing Bibu to just repel in and hope for the best there. It was actually the fact that they didn't realize maybe that was going on. I don't know how much time was left at that moment in time. Otherwise, you could have gone for a quick swing, but either way, well played by LFO. A quick opportunity spot at Rise was checking. Okay, no one on the site. There is no view, Holzmade. It's just a rotation. We can smoke this. We can flash this. We can go for it with the Amaru. And that's exactly what they did. And of course, as soon as the Amaru is on the board, there's always going to be the intention of going in quick. And it's exactly what they went for there. It's just that the retake almost worked out. The Clash blocking the line of sight from one of those Windows players forced people to go aggressive, and it was not much time left for him to jump in.
I like how at the start of that round I was like, oh, LFO, sometimes they can be a bit slow. They need that energy from P4, and it's like, cool, okay. Here's some candelas, here's some smokes, here's a man planting in the middle of the room to push away from the defaults. They can't just spray it, and you could see that Yokai was looking towards those defaults. It was, you know...
Can't see through the smoke. Need a bit of guidance from a bulletproof camera or an evil eye, for example, to try and guide.
Well, you don't always know, especially with a smoke that deep, you don't always know that somebody's going to be planting in it.
Yeah, I know. You don't expect them to run in that deep because it's almost at the rotation there. And that usually doesn't happen, but it might be the better option to go for. You saw it here. They didn't expect it. That is why it worked out in the end.
All right, now let's see what lessons learned. First one, reinforcing more hatches, where they've done the one inside open as well and sort of gone for a more held hold. I don't know, but it seems like Exodus is already meeting Mowgli there, so I'm assuming Mowgli wanted to get a bit of punishment here. They wanted to try and get this early engagement. They wanted to catch the loose players. They've gotten control of open. And with those hatches in a slightly different state now, is this different hold of LFO, is it going to be something that slows them a little bit?
We do have 2 can openers, we do have 2 exothermic charges, so there shouldn't be an issue opening up any of these hatches. The big ask here is, however, how is the current CCTV walls? Are they reinforced? Do they need to save one of the exothermics for that, for example? Because that will be a big factor at the end, at the decisive round. Yeah, indeed. So it is reinforced. That does mean they need to keep an exothermic, so only 3 hatches can be opened up, theoretically.
Well, Mowgli's trying to bait the fight. He's just passing either side of beepers, hoping somebody swings up and they can get in an early engagement, but LFO's not actually leaning in. The Pulse is providing all the read and the intel. They're sort of saying, well, we know they're here and we know he's here, so let's sort of sit and wait. There's only so much that he can do as he just locks off, and sure, it's a limitation on a rotation, but at some point you've got to use your utility. You've got to try and bring some of this towards the befalling of the site itself. The besiegement sounds like it started. The hatches over the opposite side and the archives and has all been opened up now. They've been able to get themselves some work at this point before. They'd already killed 2 of Pwn's players and started their approach onto the site, though. Maybe even 3. Based on the time here, they're just preparing.
There is 2 C4s available. There is 14 Shimikas. That's all the denial that is available for Pwns. And 2 of those would be to go for an instant kill. The others not so much, but Exodus finds Bibu. That's the first strike to be given as Mowgli finds one back.
There it is, traded on the side of the white stairs. Exodus, though, he slipped his way up top. That is huge. His new positioning now puts Mowgli in a tricky situation, so Rise had to rotate and get him, but he's still got to rotate his way back down to the site. 40 seconds. And we said that double time, that wasting is something that that's bitten them before. The ADS is back online and catches that. They're going to go for more grenades, more drop, and more pressure onto WTG, and the shield that's holding it, another ADS catch. They're just bouncing back and forth and taking every single grenade. The Shamika launcher is coating all of the default plant spot and fires. They've got to try and drop for the fire, and they find it. P4 with one, gets traded back out. Emission, but it's that opener that lets them move in. Shinka goes deep behind the half-reinforced wall so he can get himself a little bit of safety. The spray doesn't quite go his way. Andreezy can't get the angle. It's Rise that bites it back.
I would dare to say that shouldn't have been lost by Pones there. That has so much utility. 2 C4s, 14 Shamikas, or a little bit less as some were used. But they went for they put themselves in vulnerable positions. P4 drops in, gets the hipfire headshot onto the Tachanka. I mean, it's unlucky, but that shouldn't be happening there. He was in a prime position to try and stop any of those plants from happening. And also those 2 C4s, I was going to praise them on the fact that they kept their operators with the denial utility safe. Like, they kept the C4s in pocket, they didn't go for any swings with those operators, and they kept the Tachanka safe. And then in the end, they don't really get to use it. It's just P4 jumps in, gets the Tachanka. After that, it is going to be just angles held. Shinka that runs in deep, finds the Warden. And then it's a 1v2 situation for that Pulse. The long angles being held. It's not going to be working out. Luckily for Pones, though, they're headed back towards the open area. It's a sign that they have been able to win before. Came down to eventually LFO not really having a good clue on how to approach this site, because they were aiming and eyeing at the quad wall, but then decided against it because too much time could be lost. So instead they decided to go for a hatch drop, for an archives hold through the angle that through the rotation that was made, and for the copy window jump in. Now that was quickly shut down, so let's see if they find something new to go for here.
Alright, LFO, that's 2 different styles of attack and 2 very good sort of meters of success. We're still seeing that drive, that sort of push onto the plants, and that's the worry, because as I said, there's always history. There's always the knowledge that you've been in these situations before, and where those mistakes happen, or in those late executes, the positioning, the chance to drop, and the risk, and obviously the success there of P4 swinging his way down and putting the pressure into the site. It's so important, and it's so sort of measurable in the metric of them being able to build that energy and keep themselves pushing and pressing onto Pones throughout this. There's, as you said, a bit of a stretch here. They've got themselves locked in. It seems like they're going for more of a focus here onto the quad wall at first, whether they're just trying to pinch the player or push them. We'll find out sooner rather than later.
So what will probably happen is someone gets up close to these archives windows again as soon as they start opening up with that buck. So as that C4 goes off, won't find anything. They have it. P4 is close to that window. Rise will soon start to open up some verticalities here, and P4 is just here to try and stop them from rotating out, which has just happened. He was unfortunately on his drone. Some mistiming went through. However, there's still a second player around. It's Exodus inside the tellers here. Actually gets himself spotted. Needs to stay alive so he can use that C4 later on.
Yeah, he was massively lit up, but it works! Unfortunate, popped it on the way out the door and it just catches Rise. They assumed they had some safety of the room because they'd forced the players out, but it had already been placed, pre-played, and was ready for the destruction. Rise is gone, the buck is off. The player who was that force on the previous round is out of this one. So now for the first time, we're starting to get a taste of LFO on the back foot. If I've said we've had 2 different schools, here's the third. Will they be able to teach it in the same manner? Exodus, he's eyeing up the drop here onto the hatch. He wants to waste a bit of time first. He's going to see if he can try and pull a fight out before he takes a grand exit. It's a slow creep round. Do they know he's here? Oh, I don't think they do.
No, they definitely don't. He dropped down earlier before to the lower level, managed to get himself back up, and now he's in the back of Mowgli here. Can be shutting him down, and with that, an entire part of it, but he actually misses his shots, and that might have been a whiffed opportunity there. It's a trade to come through. Emission gets the headshot as he gets into DBNO state, but he's recoverable, and that means it's a 5v3 situation here in favor of Pones.
Well, they're opening up the castle. They're going for the stretch on the wall. There's a bulletproof camera, but they're going to have to try and get aggressive. Bibu suffers. There's P4 opening up one on the fight. He's looking for a bit of long range. Looks away at the worst possible time. The ping. And there's that camera I talked about. Blinded, but it's the cost of the man. Emission and Cypher with 1 apiece, leaving just Shinka out, but he's not there long. Pones bite back and lock it in.
And find themselves behind the kitchen desk, just not with the diffuser. They couldn't have gone for the plan there, and Pones again will be able to win open area. And now the trick for them will be to find that third round. They have 3 other sites to go for here, 3 other opportunities to try and lock it in. And Executive and CEO seems to be the choice that they go for. If they find a third round on the defense, there is hope for them to win this game. If LFO, however, gets this fourth, it's starting to get out of hand. It's starting to go towards them, and the major spot gets closer and closer towards their hands. Of course, there's still other games that need to go their way for them to make it eventually, but then they would have done everything they can themselves.
I mean, that's it. Like, when it's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. Obviously, you can say it's technically been in their hands because it's a league, but looking at today, when it's, you still have to make the result matter, because there's teams that have had it in their hands, lost it, and then still made it, and it's, you know, it's like a bittersweet feeling. It's the opposite here, is at least you know you've done everything that you possibly can.
Yeah. Heroic will feel that way because they're confirmed first. They've won everything but one game. You know, so they're sitting here, no pressure anymore. First seed, going to the major.
Vibing.
They get to watch all these other teams stress about it for the rest of the day, and that is gonna be a good feeling for them.
Mr. Officer's already probably got a cowboy hat.
He probably does, yeah. He prepared some content, I'm pretty sure. Instead of the Arctic, they're going to the steppes.
If anyone's going to hit us with a big yeehaw, if anyone's going to show up in like full cowboy regalia, like
it will be Mr.
chaps
Officer.
and like stirrup, what's the little metal things on the back of your boot?
I don't know. The pizza
like,
wheels?
Yeah, little spiky pizza wheels. You just play more cowboy games. This is going to be Mr. Officer.
Yeah.
But who's gonna be joining him? Who else is gonna get themselves?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Large cowboy hat.
We could see two French teams there. It's been a while since we've had that. That's for sure. But LFO,
how many French teams are at Rally?
I would need to check. I have no clue. I will go check how many French teams were at Rally.
Was it one?
I'm looking at Fresh. He also has no clue.
It was a while ago.
You know, it's lucky that we live in the day and age of the internet.
Yeah.
So we can. I should probably specify with major R6 rather than just Raleigh. Otherwise, we don't get there. All right. So we had G2, not French.
Not French.
Dark Zero, Empire, EG, FaZe, Fnatic, Giants.
I mean, we just need to.
Time. Yeah, I'm looking.
We just need.
I'm going through. We had a Lems on Team Secret. That's a French player. Not
Was
quite a
it
French team yet. No, none.
None.
It's just the Lems. That was the only French. Oh wait, we had Hicks and Afama on Giants and Rise there as well. So that does that count? It's two French people and a French-speaking person on Giants.
I'm gonna say
that's the closest we will get to a French team.
We have 0.7 of a French team at the last NA.
Yeah, and we could be going to 2. So you know, it's some
French people out there. That is a huge rise.
That is more than 200%.
The percentage of French Siege players at an NA major, it's all the way through the roof.
Yeah, to the moon, or rather to NA.
To NA, which isn't the moon.
Which isn't the moon. There's also not an astronomical rise.
Wow.
Is that the right word?
It's a word.
Either way, the rehouse is going on as you saw there was a crash in the meantime.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about
that. Gives us some time to discuss potential opportunities, but at the same time, I saw Bibu saying a bit of a let's go, so I wouldn't be confused if we are headed back into the game. Yeah, I see it on Mowgli's screen already. We're headed back into Bank. So, unfortunately, we don't get to break down the game fully.
I mean, we still can.
We could still do so.
Give us a quick one.
Okay, so the only rounds Pawns have been able to win are open area. That's basically it. There was some rounds they should have won. I'm looking at the second time they went basement, but they kind of fumbled it there a little bit. They maybe were in two vulnerable positions before. I mean, he drops in and gets a hipfire headshot onto Tachanka. It is a bit of luck involved in it, but they did manage to translate that into a round win LFO. And they are looking for their fourth, and it's Pawns that is looking to equalize the score here, bring it up to a 3-3. And the last time we were up here, it was decided by an Amaru and some Deep Smokes and Candelas to come in. Now, I have a feeling that will not work again. It's just a slight feeling.
Yeah, probably not. No, but they still have, obviously, themselves set up in a similar way. They've got the Clash, they've got the lock in there, they've got a bit of control.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about the Pawns roster we saw last time was we didn't get to see an example of it in motion because when you're up against the push, sure, you have the utility to stop that sort of push, but it's such a surprise, and it was a very well-executed surprise.
That's it. Rushes often work unless the team is prepared for it.
That's the thing. A rush is all or nothing. If if that Echo drone are connected, if they've got the diffuser cold, and now they've got a Clash and an Echo still on the board, it's like the round's over. It's in 20 seconds, the round's over, but in a very different way.
That's it. So you try and overwhelm them, so they quickly need to scramble everybody back to the side and get the utility into the right places to do it such a rush. And because that takes time, it only takes 7 seconds to get the diffuser on the board. The chances of that taking longer than you getting that diffuser down are pretty big, but it doesn't work a second time around because then they have a Yokai closer, they have an extra player able to look through the smoke. Let's say a Warden, not the case now of course, but we did see him in previous rounds to come through. Mission here, however, he's doing some work. He has a player right behind him. Exodus, however, does get punished for it.
Well, that's it. Traded on the far side, though. Andreezy picks it up almost instantly. Scythe has got himself locked in. That was close. That was very, very close.
Take damage from that.
He's able to get himself still locked in. Mowgli uses this space, though. Moves himself a little bit across the top of the bow, and now they're trying to burst in from behind, open up the stock wall, see if they can force that Clash into a more uncomfortable situation, which they have. Clash has had to retreat down the corridor. It allows them a bit more control here over the side of Square. There's still a shield, and there's still obviously the opening, but it's going to be down to Clash now with a lot less support to see if she can just try and keep a bit of a read on the intel.
Clash, her back is somewhat being watched. I mean, WTG is still around near the janitor side of things, so I don't think Mowgli's just going to be able to walk in as he would like to do so. But it might be actually LFO to go for another quick kind of push right here. Just open up the wall. You could go for a plant right behind the desk, especially if the janitor will be clear. And with this being opened up here, they won't force the player back in, and a grenade could simply dispatch him.
That's it.
Oh,
They're
there he
sort of trying to eye up. The slow creep through, sees the side of an Echo. Echo's down. The grenade is going to be the lock-in. They're hoping somebody goes for the pickup. They have, and they take a lot of damage for the effort, but WTG moves into the spot where the recently deceased was. Mowgli, he keeps moving, though. He keeps finding himself further and further in. Shinka's looking and eyeing up the Wake possibility. Emission suffers next. The Clash not quite down, but still forced out of the fight. Scythe is doing everything they can over the shoulder of the corridor, but whilst the site is entirely being overwhelmed and overtaken, you just got to try and find a route for that kit in. Mowgli, he's sort of left a little bit adrift right now as all the fight happens elsewhere. Rise goes down, Emission pops up and pops one more, and suddenly they found themselves a bit of momentum. Shinka, he swings around, can't get the connection, and for all the groundwork Mowgli had done, it's all fallen away. There's at least one. There's the Clash on the far side, the collection of the kit, 10 seconds. They know where you are, they know where you're going, and you are just a bit out of time here. They're hoping they can get the pickup, but she's played that perfectly.
Mowgli played that so well. He managed to insert himself so early on, and of course there was still the opportunity of a player rotating back into the janitor there, but I think maybe too much attention paid towards that Clash. You saw it right there. There was always someone there to back her up, and of course eventually able to come in and swinging with the SPSMG9, take out the last bit of cover, and suddenly it's a 2 and 3, and you might have side control, but you don't have anything around it anymore, so you're forced to go for these picks. Still would have been maybe better to go for a plant rather than swing inside from janitor. You still had Mowgli in a position where he could be holding the janitor, but also the bench to be held. And while a tactical timeout will be called, LFO, it is 3-3. This is not the ideal situation they were hoping to go to, because suddenly Pones is a lot closer again than a 4-2 would be. And now they're headed towards the attack, and LFO on the defense. And of course, you know, we've seen it, the preference now lies with the attack. And that means that LFO, they need to make sure they best Pones their result on their half, because otherwise, I mean, I said it, a 7-5 loss is still theoretically enough to maybe make it to the major if everything else goes your way, but that would be definitely the result you do not want to put on the board if you have a win to choose from.
They don't want to hit OT.
They don't want to hit it.
You cannot expect anything less from this. If you're in LFO's position, you know you have the game against the team that's in 10th. You know you're a team that's been fighting in this position. As Fabian said on the desk, you cannot lose this. They cannot accept anything less than the 3 points. Even if they make it, it's still so disheartening. And it's all that sort of story of, this is this roster, they can, they will, but they shouldn't. They should be taking this 3 points.
They should be here already. They should have been confirmed to get away heroic, however they are, and then that makes this story even more stressful. I mean, Fabian said it before, they should already be through. They are playing against the 10th team. Everybody expects them to win, but there's also a lot of pressure on this team because they know it themselves. If we lose, we might look like a bunch of clowns, in the words of Gunther Steiner. That's a bit of an F1 reference there. Either way, they need to make sure they win this. They cannot afford to lose, because if they do, then everything else needs to be going their way if they want to make it. And that is just the truth of it. So they need to make sure that their defense is top-notch. They need to make sure Pones is not gifted any ground. And P4, as is usual, on the roam to get a bit Mowgli here and rise up on the top floor as well, are looking to at least stall them out for a minute and a half.
The team talk, is it going to be something that allows them to drive some of this? Because Pones can start to pick things up here on their swing in. Mowgli goes a little bit aggressive. He tries to bite the hand outside stock. He knows more pressure's going to come, so he finishes the fight with Scyther before swinging towards the second. Pop bullets and the cover of the canister lets him slip on by. Out of the stock door, and he's rotating his way bye-bye. Towards the bottom there. Obviously, the site itself is far away. They put a bit of utility up here, and it's come at the cost in the player of removing Scyther, the buck, gone from the opponents.
Good bit of teamwork that happened there. You saw as soon as Exodus was trying to go for the challenge there, he spotted him. The smoke canister comes out. It allows everybody to fall back because LFO is no longer present up on that top floor. They have fallen down towards the first one. And that means that, well, Exodus is currently finding out about this. He knows the hatches are open. It is some angles he can play with, but it's not really gifting him any opportunities here. And as the rest of his teammates join, Pones is lucky to still have a mission on the board on that sledge, because otherwise they wouldn't have had any self-destruction left. They wouldn't have been able to do what he is doing right now. Open up to archives, open up to tellers, and at least limit the amount of angles, limit the amount of rooms that the defenders can be in this last minute.
WTG's trying to square off square here and cover for anything that might slip out of that door. Obviously, there's always the danger of the C-Force, but it seems like LFO are playing themselves at least with those currently closer to chest, rather than trying to catch out players that might be a bit looser. Exodus has been able to move his way into square. They're eyeing up quad wall, and with no openings across the top, it means, well, it's just going to be a breach of getting rid of those mute jammers. They've made one of their own, popped in. There's no way they can catch that with the double play there, and well, it gets open pretty cleanly without any real confrontation.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they weren't really able to play with the impacts anyway. You see, there's just 2 nitros on the board. Beware in a bit of a precarious situation here. He's staying prone. He's hoping for the best, hoping to pick up a single kill on the player inside of the probe right here. That is the diffuser. That is big. 17 seconds on the clock, and now Pones, they need to start hitting the site.
P4 up the back blue stairs, finds one. No, just down, but there's a pickup on the opposite side. Mowgli slips past and drops a body. Exodus is the only one left, and at least gets a bit of revenge, but it's not long-lived. Bibu, lying behind the desk, just caught them out entirely. The plan was going to plan until a Frenchman was in the mix.
Until one was laying down on the ground, and they, they checked it before. They went in with a... they looked underneath. They didn't see anything there. All right, might be safe. Little did they know he was on top of the counter and jumped down as soon as the breach came through. And now it's 3-4. LFO in the lead again. You see it in the live rankings. Would be currently in second place if the match would be to end like this. However, it won't. We still have at least 3 rounds to play and potentially 7 more to go. And with that, Pones now will be attacking that bottom floor. Now, this is a pretty straightforward one normally. Is that... Oh, that is very... Oh, okay. So, a shotgun blast that was meant to create some lines of sight has hit a hot pocket in the face and made it explode. So they only have 3 left now, and I believe that all of those have been placed on the default plant spot near the A bomb site. Yep, there you have it. 2 of them on that side and 1 of them on the monitors there. So they're really trying to stop someone from planting there, I'd say.
You know the strategy, but if you're looking at a cost of utility, it'll take an explosive to pop all of them.
That is, yeah, just a single grenade rolling in, or
and
a nitro cell thrown prematurely.
Yeah,
there's a lot of grenades, and if just a simple drone would be confirming this, and they should be quite quick with doing so. I really don't hope the WTG is like, hey guys, oh no way! Oh, the bait at the yokai drone is like, I'm gonna get this yokai drone, boys!
Oh, that is a shame. I don't even think that was a bait. I think that was just rotten timing.
That is just good timing.
Rotten timing that worked away. WTG, he will be kicking himself over that. He saw a tasty bit of bait, but the mouse trap went snap. As it did for Mowgli, actually, on the top floor. At least they were able to get a body out of it. They suddenly found somebody in response. Vigil is removed, but you also think of how Mowgli has been throughout this entire game. 4 kills since the rehost 2 rounds ago. He keeps responding and keeps driving in. Rise opens up a bit of width here. He doesn't know the players just crept around in a close corner. Behind him, they still have some presence, and Exodus is actually just left. He's noped out of there, and Dreezy's rotating around from blue, but it is being watched, I believe, from P4 on the split. Actually, no, that's castled up.
Now, the Beepers will be giving away a little bit of the game here, but, you know, they need to completely rethink their plan. They wanted to plant with the Monty in a safe spot. Now, that's not going to be happening anymore, so we might see a different approach coming through. Let's say a hatch drop from the vault area, for example. Those hot pockets totally not in place, so a C4 would be to come in, but those have been used. So just the yokai drones and the 3 smoke canisters to stop a plant elsewhere from happening. Now, they're still rotating some of this utility around, and with 80 seconds left on the clock, an execute is nowhere near yet. You gotta expect that somewhere in those last 30 seconds, especially with all these hatches closed. Scyther still has one of those can openers left, however, so you can expect him to use it on the hatch they want to use for the eventual drop.
Cheeky little angle there. There's a bit of scratch damage to BB, but the Echo is out of there. He's not going to sit around and wait and see what happens. He knows that he could be the most valuable asset, especially as we go into this final minute here. Scyther rotates his way back around. They're looking to try and pop their way through. Remember how many hot pockets there are? Well, I think I just heard a couple of them pop as the grenades start to roll through, and that is 2 of them.
No, 1.
Oh no, just 1.
Yeah.
Just 1 was caught there. The other one blended in there with the monitors. But there's still 2 more left to go, and still smokes, and still silence, and still echo, and still a wall locked in there. When that gets breached, you're thinking of another fire pocket. What are you going to do here, Pose?
Oh, they cannot breach it, so we don't have to think about that. But the grenades to come through could be stopping this from happening. However, they're all going the other way, and Andreezy is going for the plants in quite a bit of a safe spot. Smokes are not hitting him. They need to pop the hot pocket. They don't. However, P4 will be able to get the kill, but just too late.
It's now a 2 versus 1. Shinka, he doesn't quite get the connection. Exodus went huge inside garage there on the far side, and they did not have much to work with on their execute, but what they had, they made it work.
This is the second round that we see in the basement that should have been won by the defenders. You know why? Hot pocket's still in place. It wasn't popped. They could have popped it. Instead, they went for 2 smoke canisters, and neither was able to find a connection. If you would have just shot it, if you would have just blown that up, he would have been burned. Like he wouldn't have been able to get the defuse down. They would have had to go for kills, and you can dig in deep after that as the timer slowly runs out. And thus they decide to repick it. They go for a run it back. Maybe not with the same operator lineup, because Rise is now playing on that Warden. Will probably play around those blue stairs because shields and the ADSs are being set up for it. But again, just a single shot. I mean, Rise even came around the corner, could have shot it, but decided not to. He got injured in the way there.
Now, I know we're looking at this game from a particular focus. You always will do. When you have more up for risk for one of the other teams that we have in LFO, Pons' place is locked in. There's no changing. They're looking towards a growth over the year, and it hasn't been a great start, but it was never expected to be with this roster and everything that went on. You needed to give these 5 time to gel, and then we'll see how they happen in stage 2 and so forth. But LFO, you know, this is always one of those moments where, for EU and from our perspective, they should be biting, and this is a game where they should be fighting. There's so much expectation. And although we're painting it as a lot of eyes right now on LFO's performances, and their sort of mistakes and their missed moments are going to come through a little bit louder, because right now they mean a little bit more than Pons, who are just playing a game of Siege.
Yeah, that's it. Pons have nothing to gain, nothing to lose. All they can gain is just, oh, that is again an early frag. Mowgli going down for the 2nd time in a row on the top floor. I mean, it wasn't the entry the last time around, but this time it will hurt more because the Monty has not been picked up. You know, the nice shots come out. LFO will not be happy about that one.
I mean, Mowgli, I sort of talk about his importance before, and that's twice in a row. He's been an early removal here on the top floor. Pons, they've been able to scream their way through. It's a different hold, and they don't have the joy of being able to remove the Monty that was the free gift on the previous round. Here, Emission's just going to see if he can try and get the angle to hop up and get the angle all the way down. It's clear, it's cleansed, and he's clear to start making his way across the top here. They're not wasting any time. They're making sure they do all the work that needs to be done.
I believe he just halted there. He might have been aware, been notified of a potential other roamer being out there, because suddenly he stopped dead in his track there around those Visa. Now, he did go through in the end here, so indeed drones came through. They confirmed no one is out there. And he made some rotations here, and these are meant to quicken the pace. If any rotations need to happen late round, let's say a complete shift of rotation to go for the vault, for example, comes through, those sledge holes are meant to speed up that process here. With a minute left on the clock, they do truly need to find a way in. And, you know, they found Mowgli up top, but that is just the start of things. They need to find 4 more kills to get that diffuser down soon.
Wow, with the lock in there on the side of the blue stairs, they're finally breaching themselves through the hatch to see if they can put some pressure onto the backside. They've been holding it for a long time, but they're eyeing up now with the body inside the elevator to see if they can put the pressure onto P4. He drops a drone. Shink is the extension. You can see making a movement there. And sure, there's the support. The grenade, as he said, gets the scratch onto the first, but they're sprayed and picked up by the second. Another catch. The canister's going to buy him the time to potentially pick up the player. Our mission uses the moment to swing his way in underneath, potentially undetected. The Warden caught entirely unaware. Rise goes down. It's now a 3 versus 3. P4's back up. That is just going to stop them making a little bit more of an entrance, but look at Andreezy on the far side. More of a grenade that rolls down, puts the pressure, the drop there, and the eye up one hatch changes their mind, goes for a different one. Do they have time to get themselves all the way boots into the ground? And Dreezy, he's got to swing for a fight, doesn't know that one's close, does get the catch. It's a take a Shinker on the far side. P4, he gets the important one. The kid is cold, and he's tucked in. And LFO just scraped by.
I was going to say, such a questionable late rotate to come through, but almost Pones was able to make it work. They cleared this side, the Echo taken out, the Jaeger inside. It is just that last player, this smoke that was hiding in the vault entrance there, that was about to be wallbanged at the final second of the round. If it wasn't for that time running out, it would have been at Pones' round. 2 more seconds, all it would have took. Even 1 could have been the case. And it's 4-5 now. LFO again in that lead, but we keep trading these rounds throughout this half so far. They really want to put a match point on the board now. And as they head back to open area, this is the place where they need to do it if they want to give themselves some breathing space. Because I said it before as well, Rogue has a better round differential. Even if Rogue win and BDS and G2, well, let's say BDS gets an overtime win, it is going to be coming down to the round differential. Winning 7-4 is not going to be enough. So they need to make sure that they lock it off you no matter what. Because a lot is relying on it. Those 3 points is all they need.
LFO by the skin of your teeth, and you can see it on the faces of the players. They know how important this is. They know how close they are. P4 knows it as well. A very vocal player, and I want to see him get angry. I want to see him get mad as he does, because as I said, it's such a good force for the team. It drives them. It gives them so much energy, and that's what you want from a talented and capable player in that conversational period. That's what you need from that driving, because they should be locking this out, and they're not. And those are the horrible questions that keep popping up. P4, he's close here. He's got at least the catch on a single drone. He's waiting for a little bit of audio. There's one. There's one more that might come through close here. He's given at least a catch and a freebie. Rise suffers on the shoulder and the back as Andreezy makes his way in here across the top. How long will P4 sit here?
He might be willing to go for a bit of a jump out here if he finds out what a mission is currently watching at that moment in time. Actually, P4 just catches Exodus off, who was in the middle of the side. We'll be able to find the kill, and with P4 now jumping down all the way towards the basement, it is, of course, the open area we are playing about. And as Rice, yeah, that's the smoke. That is going to be very painful there, but he's always been playing in that position, so well read by Pones.
That's it. Pones, all eyes onto Rise there, and well, whether it's a little bit late from the Mozzie to go for the strike and get that little bit of revenge or not, at least they took out a player. They took out Exodus as well, who's been a big force. As I said, he was one of the ones to watch in this sort of engagement. He knows how to play against these aggressive players. He knows how to get in and get those sort of rivalries, and he's built himself into the split in the season so far well here. But how can they work without him? How can they keep that drive up across the top of open? They're getting themselves some openings for the rotations. They're getting the catch on any of these loose players, and they're just seeing if they can try and bring themselves a little bit together. Just over a minute left, and trying to bait out some of the C4s, but the pings are placed elsewhere.
I believe that is also guided by a Mozzie drone. So as soon as that comes through, they have a P4. Just quickly presses that Nokia button and it will explode, and that means an extra kill to go LFO's way. And they desperately need it. They need to reach that match point. They need to pick up these 3 points. But Emission has just spotted someone there. He's again unable to connect to these feet, but just a little bit more patience and he might be able to find one.
Yeah, he doesn't quite have the angle, so he's going to go with the grenade instead. Just going to bounce it around the corner. And it does get the catch. Not a well-made desk, but to be fair, what could protect you against that? Shinka caught out, removed, and now they've got themselves 30 seconds and a 3 versus 3. The showdown didn't quite work before because BB was tucked in. He's not. This time around, they've got themselves an opener. They got the smoke cover. They don't have the gold to try and run themselves in. That Banshee still stood. They're going to go for the pop and the stun on the far side. Emission with another pick up there. P4 taken off the board. There's a drop and a catch and stock hatch. BB brings it back once again to a 2 versus 2. They're in. They're trying to see if they can stick it on the far side. Mowgli, he's going a little bit wider through the box in the rotation, but it's a smoke plant, and it's a post one here. They're now buried, and it's a catch round on the backside. A huge kill from Andreezy. Bibu keeps battling back, and he gets one more! Bibu with the triple, clutched it out last time on this round with the first that took the wheel out, and this time knocks the whole damn cart over.
There it is, and that is one of the most important clutches for their stage, because this puts them 1 round away of picking up those 3 points. And I'm not saying the major yet, because it is not the major yet, but it's at least a whole bunch of steps closer to the major. And it's now match point. 2 of them, to be exact. 2 opportunities for them to find 3 points. Again, the round differential already will not be better anymore than Rogues if they would be to end up on similar amount of points. So they need to get the maximum amount of points. May it be this round, may it be the next. We'll have to wait and see. But Pones, they had everything going for them there for a second. They managed to trade it back to a 3-3 with that grenade. The plan did go down. They find the first kill as well. But then Bibu comes in, and he's able to close it off there. So a massive play by him. Definitely will be, if not major, deciding at the end of the day, possibly here. And now we're headed towards Stellar's Archives. It's a site we do not often see, and it is, of course, partially due to the fact that there's a lot of verticality to be gained, which we almost see every single round we play open area.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble to see if they can try and just push enough of Pones off kilter and ride themselves back in. And, well, it's still been a bit back and forth. B4 going big there, and it's good to be able to highlight a player and then see them step up in the round that follows. But a Bibu triple kill, that's sort of one of those recipes that always tastes a little bit good. It's grandma's cooking. We've had it since the beginning of time in Siege, and it tastes just as good. WTG, quick bit of pressure here over the side of Open, seeing if he can try and spray down. And, well, Bibu can't quite get the angle there to stop, I think, the second pop of the Selma, or at least... yeah, got that, but couldn't stop the first.
Now, that one is not going to be that useful. I think you can still stand behind it without them seeing it if they are on ground level. However, upside down repels are going to be a bit more dangerous with that one if you think you're safe. Either way, Emission spots out Mowgli. That is going to be a crucial amount of information as well, because they know people are now up on that top floor, and those should be hunted by the remaining players of Pones. In the meantime, the rotate already came through, so the top floor will be given away for free. And then you look over to the right-hand side, because the C4 game is one that we kept on seeing coming back. And we see one on Shinka, we see one on Rise. Those might be crucial as soon as they start opening up directly above the side, because they will be hunted with explosives from the defense.
Well, curious eyes now paid towards this steady approach. Nobody's been caught out as of yet, but they tasted a bit of quick pace from Pones there, and they want to make sure they're not unfortunately getting a full whack in the jaw from it, as they've suffered quite a couple of times there on that early bite. Pones have been very good at getting that opening body, whether it was the drive there onto Rise the round before, or the couple on Mowgli. This time it's P4, and that is a huge removal. Exodus isn't punished, and he was the first removed previously for Pones, so he can keep driving, keep firing and thriving, and seeing if he can catch off Mowgli.
WTG on the other side near the lobby here, looking to find an entry. He's, of course, playing with that diffuser, and as he wants to open up, it's a magnet that catches off one of the Selmas. He only has one left, so he needs to be very careful now. You do not want to lose that one. You need to open up the site. When Mowgli playing around the hatchery, he's actually going to find some contact, finds a kill as well. Exodus is taken out, and the main count is back even.
There, gives himself a bit of width as well. A brave move to be in that position, trusting that they're just going to trust it's empty, and unfortunately wasn't. Exodus caught out there. Now with a 4 versus 4, 40 seconds, WTG's been able to get close enough and get the breach open towards the plant. There's a bit of width. There's to make sure no player is there. We hear the Maestro cam turning, but obviously the Maestro being out of action means it's not going to do much more than that. The change of hands, the kit there. Bibu's going for a long angle, seeing if he can stop it. Mowgli, he's ready to burst through a door here. Waits for the perfect time. Doesn't quite get it. It's 2 that fall. Pwns is able to put themselves into the 4 versus 2. Shinka, he wants to see if he can try and strike back, but it's such a danger, such a risk. And now as the plant's happening over the cover of the shoulder, it's a freebie! What? 10 seconds and 1 player, Bibu, just has to be able to pinch the single person out. He has to time this behind, can't get the connection. 1 more round is still all that's left on the board.
Did actually see the mute sitting there as soon as he went for the plan, of course. Wanted to go quick. Not much time left, but it could have costed a round. It could have costed a match in the end there, but Pwns, they will still hang on for now. 5-6. And LFO with picking up that point. It might be enough at the end of the day, but it still isn't. And I believe actually with this one, even though, Pwns is taking a tactical timer right now, they want to break it to overtime. You might be wondering, why would they do that? They cannot make it to the major. But at the end of the year, every single point you have will count towards you retaining your spot in the European League for 2023. And they're already thinking about that now. So that's a good thing. They want to get as much points as possible. And there's just a single round away. But at the same time, I have to say, LFO, I believe, picking up that point might have just closed the door for M&M of making it to the major.
Oh, will it have?
I'm going to check because Rogue, of course, now are in 5th place.
Oh, no.
Tentative. And I believe Rogue and LFO both needed to lose.
M&M were in the toughest spot.
They were in the toughest spot.
Context,
it was the most unlikely.
Even if M&M won their point, full 3 points, it was still only an 18% chance. So they really needed everything to fall into a particular place for it to be possible.
Actually 11 points for M&M, and with this, they will be on 14 points. So it's still possible.
It's still possible,
It's still possible. No worries. I'm sorry I gave you a heart attack there. It's
this is still within the 18%.
Yes, however,
still within that timeline.
Round differential again will be deciding. LFO a bit more than they do.
What's the name of the person who does those excellent graphs?
Which graphs?
The ones on Twitter with the...
Sprabuni.
Sprabuni. Thank you, Sprabuni.
My Dutch friend.
Amazing
who always
graphs.
speaks English with me.
They're so cool. I know I've retweeted a few, but they are amazing resources.
They're definitely helpful to see visually how much chance someone still has. And with this turning into a point for LFO, that 18% might have dwindled a little bit more, but of course we won't get the update on that until we see whether or not M&M have made it. But first, LFO, they have another round to get those full 3 points. And okay, yes, a 7-5 loss could have been enough. A point can be enough. 2 points can also be enough. But the full 3, of course, puts you in the best possible position. And with Mowgli starting it off with a jump out, well, that's definitely going to be helping them potentially find 3. Unpunished, because everybody was already jumping down elsewhere.
Oh, no.
So that is a very big entry there into a mission.
Oh, no. What do you do now, Pwns? If you're about to lose this second one, there's P4. At least pop bring some bullets, so you know you can't go much further. Exodus wanted to see if they can move in. The Monty has otherwise made some ground inside underneath, but we can hear the popper canisters. We can hear the slow-in explosions. They're doing everything to stop it, being a quick breeze and plant here. LFO know the more time that they put into the pressure and they allow themselves to rebuild, they've got the trade there of hand. We've seen a lot of Vulcans go down. It's a second awaiting.
And with that, there's only 2 smoke canisters left, and of course the yokai drones that they can actually use to stop this plan from happening. So them starting to waste this utility with 2 minutes left on the clock might be very huge actually for them. Exodus here at the square is also in a good spot, but it gets blown up by a C4. They won't know, however, but P4 retakes the ground, will confirm that kill, and will try and go for more.
They did know. They had an Echo drone, and you just saw it drop down the hatch. There was a trade and pass of drones there, and LFO with a quicker to react on it. Now, only 3 bodies left. Scyther at least finds Mowgli, stops some of the coal, but it's caught out, and there's a spray over the top. Rise, he tried to cement one more, and they're going to see if they can get hyper-aggressive because they know what else can they do. The man is recollected. A 4 versus 3. Scyther is able to at least get himself back to his feet, but look at this. 2 stories of terror, and it's Rise. He's looking to jump in off the top rope. Less than a minute left, and P4 still has that mid-cut. He wants to try and slide through right into the middle of this. What do you do? Bones, that's the big question right now, because at this point, all you've really done is lost bodies. You've been able to get a hatch open in that backside on the wall, but you're all a bit separated. How are you going to structure?
And all they need to do now is rise to stay up on that top floor, because soon they will try and go for the plan. The Monty will go in first, block the shots from coming in from Shinka, and then they plant in right behind him. Bieber, do you have any yokais left? I mean, we did see them go back to the side. A smoke canister will block his line of sight. It's not going to be mattering too much. The yokai will be coming in clutch here. A grenade gets to Stim, won't find anything. 15 seconds, Emmy.
Now Shinka, he doesn't have any smokes, but they have the attention to detail. There it is, the chance on the plant behind the Monty. They're watching the hatch from behind. There it is though, Shinka over the top. Bieber locks it in, and LFO have secured themselves a win. Only just! Bones put up a heck of a fight, but finally, the French side have been able to do what was previously unreachable. Find some points on a final Playday.
They find the points. They are in second place for now, but it could still theoretically fall down all the way to 5th. So there is a lot still for them to watch. There is a lot still they need to wait for. And with them opening their own doors to the major, they now definitely have shut the one for M&Ms.
Is that confirmed?
That is now officially confirmed, yes.
Wow. It's all still a juggle. Every single game pretty much has an impact on what EU teams will go to the major. But from a perspectives point of view, I wouldn't want it any other way. We'll take a quick break before we're back with the analyst desk to break it down.